Got a drink. Anybody can stand anywhere, outside or inside.
Good. I would love to say, John McEwan, Mr. John McEwan, please welcome, please join us, everybody. Erika, Dr. Erika Sita-Szegedi, I would love you to come here at the front. Thank you. You are welcome. Thank you very much for coming. Our amazing Hungarian British Business Alliance guests, members, valued members, and our VIP guests, because we have some. So let me say thank you so much for coming, Richard Moyer, who is the London Chamber of Commerce board member, and he and Dr. Sita-Szegedi Erika and I, we are going to launch the Hungarian and Scottish Business Alliance very soon in September. I would also like to say that the Hungarian British Business Alliance is an independent and for-profit company, and we are independent. However, our results and our focus and our strategy wouldn't be as successful without the support of the Hungarian embassy in London. So very, very warm welcome. Judith Szapó, where are you, Judith? Thank you. Yeah, we've been working so well together. She's an honorary member anyway. Welcome, Petra Hajdu. Where are you, Petra?
I'm here at the back.
Yeah, thank you. And Dr. Fanny Charushi, yeah, thank you so much for coming. Also, I would like to say very, very good welcome our honorary members, Andrew Lambert, who is the chair of the IOD International Trade Group. Where are you, Andrew? Thank you for coming. Yeah. Also, David Stringle-Lamar. He's not here yet. No problem. And our program will be very, very interesting the next couple of minutes because of our two amazing keynote speakers. But before giving them the microphone, my name is Susanna Toth, the CEO of the Hungarian British Business Alliance. And this is Paul Skolinski next to me, my business partner and the global director of relationship. So please, Paul, say something. Welcome our guests.
Thank you, Susanna, and a big warm welcome to everyone here. Great to see so many new faces who've actually travelled here. I met a load of great people last week in the Isle of Man. Put your hands up, who's come from the Isle of Man and from the business show last week. Thank you guys for coming over. Great to meet you. And yeah, let's give everyone a big round of applause, yeah? I think, you know what? Give everyone a big round of applause for this movement tonight, guys, yeah? Excellent. What a fantastic turnout tonight. Over 110 people have registered, and I can't thank you enough. The amount of businesses here and the opportunities are incredible. You've just got to connect to people and meet people and talk, because you never know where this is going to go and lead to as well. We have two fantastic speakers to share with you tonight. We've got some amazing drinks and food to serve as well. And obviously we'll tell you a bit more later what we've got planned.
Yes, but before our keynote speakers are talking about their topics, I would like to share a secret, a very important date with you. How many of you have ever been to Budapest? Wow, it's an amazing number, isn't it? How many of you have already written and put it down the date, the 4th and 5th of October in your wonderful, because we are flying to Budapest. I must tell you that this 2-day-long professional program is supported, and we've been doing it in collaboration with the embassy, with the Hungarian Export Promotion Agency, and that's why so many professional programs will be happening that help you, dear members and non-members and would-be members, getting a lot of information about Hungary, about the bilateral connections, economical connections, about laws and different options and opportunities to raise, to grow export, import, and together also British companies' advantages. Paul, do you think that we are going to do nothing else in Budapest, just conferences, networking, education, information?
Oh, no way we can be doing that. Those who came last year, it was an incredible 2 days. This year, we fly over to Budapest on the 4th. We go to a manufacturing champagne factory to check out the champagne. Hands up who'd like to do that? Yeah? Then we go for a beautiful dinner over the Danube in a beautiful restaurant. And then we go to the hotel and have a great night networking, and the following day is the business conference. And there's going to be like over 150 companies there looking to connect with people in the UK. So this event is truly amazing. So if you do want to come and see us later. We'll put your name on the reserve list, but it's going to be sold out within a few weeks, we know that.
And Paul was about to ask me why our community, why the HBBA community is so unique. We are so unique because our HBBA members are extremely supportive with each other. We trust each other, we like each other, we respect each other, aren't we?
Yes.
Yes. We are also unique because we have had an amazing, however we are independent, but amazing professional support from the embassy and from support professionals from Hungary. And we've been also working together with some British companies that help your dear guest do business, do export, import, investment. And also we are unique because every single time we make an event, we invite keynote speakers. So the first keynote speaker, it's my responsibility to introduce, am I right?
Because you're a Liverpool fan and so am I thought I'd let you have this one.
Yeah, I'm a big Liverpool fan. I'm a big Liverpool fan. And one of our first keynote speaker is Steven Caulker, who is currently a professional football player and a huge advocate for mental health. Steven has represented Great Britain at the 2012 London Olympics, has won England cap, and is the current Sierra Leone national team captain. And yesterday, when we had a short chat, he wanted to know what kind of messages, and I told him, be yourself. We have amazing 110 members and guests who are looking forward to listening to your thoughts, your inspiration, your ideas. So please, welcome Steve. Come on, Liverpool.
Thank you, Susanna, and Paul for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. everyone. My name is Steven Caulker. I'm a professional football player who's going to take you behind the white lines today and show you sort of my journey, my career, and offer you guys something a little different. So, as an introduction, you could read this as I sort of read it out for you. So I'm a professional football player. Played over 350 sort of professional games across 5 different countries. I played in Turkey, played in Wales, played in England, Scotland. I'm currently the Sierra Leone national team captain, so I've got vast experience. Here's myself 11 years ago playing for England. I made my debut in the game against Sweden, where Zlatan scored 4 goals and the magical bicycle kick for all the football fans who can remember that. I'm a proud father, and a big part of my story, which I'll touch on, is I'm a recovering addict who's been to rehab twice. I didn't get it the first time round, the second time round a little better. And I'm a big believer in second chances. So a big slogan that I like to say often is down but never out. So. So just touching on some of the highs of my career and of my life, I guess. So I made my Premier League debut at the age of 19. I sort of battled to get to that stage. It took a while. I'd been rejected sort of as a kid by 5 or 6 different teams, and eventually got picked up by Tottenham. Then sort of from the age of 15 to 19, everything just was amazing. And by the age of 19, I was there playing Premier League, and there I am playing with Jurgen Klopp for Liverpool. So they're moments there, as you can see, they're playing for Tottenham, playing for Liverpool, they're fantastic highs and moments that I look back on with fond memories. But alongside these highs, I was battling my addiction, I was battling my depression. So my dad first said to me at the age of 22, 23, I think you're struggling with depression. But for me, I felt that couldn't be the case. It was the come down of the alcohol that was the issue. It was the heavy losses in the casino. Later on in my life, through 2 stints in rehab, I realised that actually I was suffering with depression, and I was addicted to trying to escape and change those feelings. During that period, I unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, I got taken to my knees to a very young age, and from having played for Liverpool and played for England, at the age of 25, I was without football. I was without football, I was without income. I'd lost, when I first made it, I bought my family houses. They were all falling away one by one. And I found myself in a very difficult situation, as you can imagine. So I was just touching on the next slide, where it all went wrong. So this is me here, one of many stories that used to come up on Google. Thankfully now I've kind of turned it around a little bit. But that was if you knew me in 2017, that would be, you put my name into Google, that's what would come up. These story after story after story, week after week, because I was in a spiral. So alcohol, when I used to drink, I used to black out. So for those of you who don't know what that feels like, it's a very scary experience. So I would say to myself, I'm going to have the 1 drink today. It would then turn into 20 drinks, 30 drinks, 40 drinks, and I'd wake up in a police cell without knowing how I got there or who I went with. So that was kind of obviously a real difficult period for myself, and also my family. I had a girlfriend at the time, I had my mum, my dad, who would be worried sick about me all night, and I used to wake up and say, I'm never ever going to do that again. Unfortunately, with addiction, I wasn't able to stop, and I would continue to play it over and over. So what took me from England, playing for England, to running in the woods for 6 months? Alcohol, gambling, one-night stands, wake up in the police cells, the negative press that you see there. The injuries, so part of being a footballer is we suffer a lot of injuries. Obviously abusing my body the way I was getting injured frequently. Falling out with managers, this is something that I'll touch on a little bit. During that, my ego was huge. I never thought that I had an ego, because when I first went to rehab, they said to me, "You've got a really big ego. You think that you know everything." I said, "No, I haven't got the expensive watch. I'm not driving the Bentley like my other teammates. Like I don't feel like I've got the ego." But I actually did, because my ego came because I wouldn't listen to anybody. So anytime the manager would tell me something, I always thought that I would know better. And that caused me a lot of trouble. And I realised that I burned a lot of bridges from a young age. And later on, I thought, actually, I need those people that, well, they might have been right, they might have been wrong, but actually just learning to accept it and nod my head, whether I agree or not, and continue on my day would have served me a lot better. So that's something I learned later on in life. And my 2 stints in rehab I walked out after the first week because, again, I felt that I would be able to do it alone. And it was only when I actually realised that I can accept the help when I was vulnerable and I surrendered, that the help helped change me and change my life. Moving on to a positive slide here is the word resilience. So when I was asking Susanna yesterday about what kind of topic should I talk about, I like to tailor my talks every time for different audiences. I said my main topic that I'll always cover is resilience because it's a big part of my journey, a big part of my story. So getting clean took a lot of resilience. Getting clean at that moment, having lost millions and millions of pounds and being rock bottom with no team wanting to give me the opportunity, I had to find something in me to keep going. I had to find something in me that was going to find a new opportunity from somewhere. That new opportunity came in Turkey after 70 different teams. I tried 70 different teams to give me an opportunity. 69 said no. The 70th team was a man in Turkey who was blowing smoke in my face, saying, come along for a 10-day trial. He wasn't even looking, he was talking to the translator and just blowing the smoke in my face. I didn't think it was going to be a success, but somehow, I don't know how life works sometimes through God's greatness or what it was. I was then offered the opportunity in Turkey. And Susanna yesterday mentioned to me about adapting to life abroad. You know, a lot of people here come from different backgrounds and we're all in one room together today in London. And for me, it's like having to adapt to a new culture. I spent 4 years in Turkey. You know, one of the first things I did, and one of the best things I did, was learn Turkish. So when I first got there, when all my teammates were going to the beach club after training, I said, my focus is going to be that I'm going to learn a new language. Learning that new language helped me develop opportunities on TV, helped me develop opportunities with businesses in Turkey, and I became the first foreign player to be able to speak Turkish because it's not a language that people put effort into speaking. So, thank you. So çok teşekkür ederim. So living in Turkey, that was like an amazing sort of experience for me, amazing life experience, living on a beach every day, waking up, going for my walks in the morning, sort of feeling refreshed, feeling much better about myself. And of course, during this time I was sober. So waking up with a clear head every morning enabled me to continue to move forward. When I drank, I felt like I woke up -10, -20, whereas when I was drinking, I was able just to continue to build and build. So that was a huge part for me, and another big part was sharing my story publicly. So I guess a lot of us, what I've learned over the years, a lot of us have demons, a lot of us have secrets, and actually letting them go for me, sharing them publicly, it actually lifted a big weight and set me free, because a lot of people before, whether it be the newspapers when they're knocking on my door for more stories, or the manager wanting to understand what I've been doing, it just eased that pressure because everyone knew, you know what, I'm Steven, I struggle with addiction, I struggle with depression, but I own my demons and I'm trying to get better. So that was definitely for me a huge sort of moment in setting myself free. And lastly, a business. I started up a business, which is why it was a great opportunity today to come along and speak. So having had that experience of falling away and sort of having no identity at the age of 26, I wanted to make sure that the next generation coming through don't experience that same and they never have to feel alone again. So I've been focused over the last 18 months now building a business called Behind the White Lines. That's an opportunity for players who are released from academies between the ages of 18 to 21 to help them transition into new pathways, whether that be new businesses, whether that be universities, or whether that be back into football. We offer that. So we're the UK's first ever aftercare academy. And I ask you guys, if you have time later on today, check us out. We've just literally launched last week. Everything's moving forward at a fast pace. It's exciting. And of course, we can do with all the support possible in order to help us get on the map. Thank you. Thank you. So my last slide, because I think my 15 minutes is up, is just talk about giving back and the feeling that it gives me. So I've managed to build a school in Sierra Leone for over 400 children. This is me in Sierra Leone with one of the young boys there. Amazing experience. Such a humbling experience. And as much as it's helped those 400 children, it's also helped me, because honestly, what I gained from that was just incredible. I want to continue to do more. So business is the way forward for me. Behind the White Lines Football Academy that I just touched on, which is just launched. And I'm an ambassador for One Out charity. And lastly, supporting other alcoholics through a 12-step program. So it's important for me that I give back to those who helped me, because those who helped me through AA, which is Alcoholics Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, they did that for free. Nobody took money for that. No one come and said that's £80 for the hour. People gave me their time for free. So it's important that I now give my time for free and help others. So thank you very much for listening. And
Stephen, thank you so much. Disclosure of vulnerabilities is a significant sign of leadership. Really fantastic. My question is, did you ever look at George Best's situation, in your situation? Thank you.
yeah, no, I did. I looked at George Best and many others. Yeah, I looked at George Best's situation, looked at Paul Gascoigne's situation, Aaron Lennon, there's many other players who have suffered with it, and unfortunately I feel like they haven't been able to get the support that they necessarily needed, but that's why I'm trying to change that. So those who have suffered in the past will no longer have to suffer in the future.
Thank you so much. I'm so impressed, and one of the reasons why I told Steven yesterday to speak about resilience, because all of us, we've been doing business. I personally, I founded my company in Budapest 30 years ago. Don't ask me how old I am. 30 years ago. So all of us, we have been suffering from how to survive, how to cope with problems and resilience. So thank you so much. And I think that Selin was a lovely conversation, and Professor Issa, they can speak native Turkish. So hopefully, Stephen, by the end of December, your Hungarian will be perfect.
Thank you. I just want to share quickly, I approached Steven on LinkedIn. I didn't know Steven at all. I saw his interview with Gareth Southgate. That inspired me, and that's why I invited him here to this event. So he hasn't been paid at all. He's come from his free will. He's flown from Spain to be over here, with no charge at all. So, I just want to give you a big round of applause for this guy who's looking for opportunities in business now. And what a fantastic talk, an inspirational talk. So thank you, Steven, for sharing that with us tonight. Just to introduce you to our next keynote speaker. Business for nearly 8 years now. Can you hear me? That's fine. And I've known this guy, worked with him in many projects. And I'm really proud that he joined the network. He joined the network as a gold member, and we have that partnership. And I've recommended his business and all his services to hundreds of clients. And every single client I've referred him to has said, this guy's a genius, and his company is, and his brand. So I'll introduce you. His name is. What's his name?
Nice
one. He's a very good friend. Daryl is the CEO of Creation. He's a branding expert, and he is the proud designer of our brands, of our flyer, and all our brands and our business cards. Our brand new website is down to this guy, and he's written a book, which he'll share with. So let's give him a big round of applause. Daryl Irving.
Thanks, Fred. Hi everybody, my name's Darrell and I'm really thrilled to be able to speak to all of you here. So I'm going to be talking about something that we all face, but we don't necessarily know how to deal with it. And it's called crisis. And crisis, for many of us, is what we face. But if you approach crisis as a point of opportunity, rather than fear it, and you understand there's a process to it, you'll be able to get through the crisis. And some of our best decisions that we've ever made has often come as a result of the crisis that we faced, for example. So just think back for a second, and you'll think, yeah, actually that's what happened. So Crisis creates clarity when change is needed. And it's often when crisis comes, you actually realise what you actually want. And I cast my mind back to the summer of last year, where I wanted to take the whole of August off, and we were going to chill, we would complete a deal on a nice barn in the middle of the country. It was all done and dusted. We had struck the deal with the landlord, everything was fine, happy days, going to chill out for August. He came to us at the beginning of August and said, deal's off, I'm not going to sell it, and you got to move out in 2 weeks. There was my crisis. And so in the midst of crisis, I made a decision that there must be an opportunity. And this is the story I want to tell you about other people that I know that were faced with crisis and took advantage of the opportunity. This is James. Now, James is 17 years old. He's a Seafire pilot, which means he can fly Spitfires and land them on aircraft carriers. And back around 1941, he's flying his Spitfire with a couple of other planes with him to go back and land on the Ark Royal. But while he was going, as he was about to land, or going towards there to land in the Ark Royal, 3 planes come out of the sun. They started shooting at him. And a bullet went through the floor of James's plane, right through the bottom of his chin and out the top of his head. He crashes the plane into the sea, and in order to survive, broke both his ankles to get out and was rescued. He was taken back to the UK, and a lady called Joy nursed him back to health. Joy was from an Italian family, and eventually he became one of the family, and he married Joy. And he lived a really great, spectacular life, bringing up and loving his family, taking advantage of the crisis and making best when the worst could have happened. Now, he had metal plates all over him, he was in a wheelchair, but the reality was he was well loved. He lived a life very well. The second person is Ian. Now, Ian was 16 years old and decided to go and travel the world. Join the Navy, they said. So he said, yeah, I'm going to do that. And he was having a whale of a time until 21. As he's on board ship, he's walking down the aircraft carrier, and the hangar doors come back and smash his kneecap. It shatters. It's obliterated. They took him into hospital, and they basically cut open his knee, and they hoovered out his entire kneecap, all the cartilage, and put a steel rod in his knee. His career was over. The very thing that he wanted to do since small, it was destroyed. But rather than that ruin him, he made the decision that actually I'm not going to be a victim, I'm going to help others overcome. And he ended up working with drug addicts, getting them off being addicted, and helping them through some of the toughest times of their life. So again, Ian had made a really tough decision, but actually turned it round for his good. The next person is Daryl. That's me, by the way, in case you don't know. And Daryl was, in 2001, I was about to run a marketing agency based in London. We had award-winning clients. We're doing really well. And then I was given the opportunity to own the company with 3 other people, 25% each. And then somebody that I was dating at the time happened to turn around and say, is that what you want out of life? And I realised, just for pausing for a second, that actually I was working with clients that would end people's lives rather than celebrate them. So I walked into the boardroom and I quit. 9 months later, I was married to the girl who asked the question, and my life changed for the better. And I know as I look back now, I wouldn't be married 22 years had I not made that decision to follow what was the right thing to do. But what I want to bring you now is a thing called the crisis catalyst. There's 8 things, and I'm going to be fairly quick. But once you know these 8 things, you'll know where you are on the crisis journey, and it will absolutely help you. So the first thing when we experience crisis, it happens. It's normally a surprise. It comes at us, we're not prepared for it, and we freeze. And the reason why we freeze is we don't know what life looks like on the other side of crisis. Because we don't know if it's going to work out, so we're paralyzed. We don't know how to deal with this thing. So once you understand the crisis, the next thing is you're dealing with shock. How many of you have ever had an accident? There's a shock part, isn't there? Even with my small kids, when they would injure themselves, you would get the silent scream. Anyone know what the silent scream is? They're like screaming with their mouth open, and before their voice catches up, because they're in shock. And the reality is, shock is something that we all have to deal with. There's a crisis, and then there's the shock of having to deal with that crisis and not knowing what to do. The next part of the crisis cycle is this, is that there's this stretch thing that we find ourselves in, where we are wishing for a life before the crisis happened, but we've got to push through and go beyond what's actually happened. And that's called stretching. We feel torn between the past and what the future might look like. But the reason why we struggle to push through is often we've got to face pain. Anyone that's ever run is that you go through a pain barrier. And you need to learn to push through that pain barrier. And the reality is, pain for us could be saying goodbye to a relationship. It could be saying goodbye to a country. It could be changing your job. And often we don't move out the place of stretch because we have pain that we've got to face. But pain is normal to life. We all have to go through it at some point. But once you make that decision to push through the pain, you then get a little bit of momentum. You then start thinking about what life looks like on the other side. And so like that runner that's running that has pain, all of a sudden they get their second wind and they start to move forward and say, you know what, actually I can do this. And in the process of that, you then begin to see light at the end of the tunnel. You start thinking about, well, the crisis has happened, but I'm starting to see an answer. And in our home situation, we found a new place. And the great thing about that new place is we began to walk around it, we had a look at it, and actually it became perfect for us to launch a podcast. So now I run a thing called the Purpose People podcast. I love Steven to come on one day. I now do that, and I would never have been able to do it in my last place. So we film in the middle of the country, so it's quiet. Now that podcast has helped leverage us and get us out there, but I would never have done it had I not moved. There's possibilities as a result of crisis. The next thing is that once you see the light at the end of the tunnel, you start moving forward, you start hitting the zone. I call it flow. It's a flow state. You've hit the sweet spot, you know what you're doing, the crisis is behind you, and now you're marching forward to what you're supposed to be doing. And when I quit my job back in 2001 and began to go and do a whole load of stuff, I actually started a creative agency in a charity. I took a whole load of volunteers who didn't know anything about anything, trained them up to grow them to become an agency, and then in 2016 we took them out and started Creation, which is the agency that we call it. And so I was in my flow because I knew that I was helping people, and that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want my skills, talents and abilities to end people's lives. I want to help elevate other people to be successful in their lives. And as a result of that, thank you. And as a result of that, I then began to grow. And I do things like this, speaking in front of a whole load of strangers. Because you know what? It's a good thing to do, to share your experiences. And from a point of growing, I've grown as a person. I didn't want to stand in front of people. I was happy showing artwork. But I realised there's something that I had that I could share and encourage people with. So that's what I choose to do. And so knowing those 8 things helps show you that there is a journey to crisis. That if you know those 8 steps, you'll know where you are. You might be in stretch, you might be in light, but stick with the process because it always happens. And so for me, going through the COVID situation, I could see the pattern. There is a way through the crisis that you may face. And I want to end with this, is that Ian, the guy I mentioned, the one that was in the sea with broken legs trying to get out of that situation, was actually my granddad. Ian was my father. And here I am here today. Because if it wasn't for James pushing through, getting out that plane and pushing through, he'd have never met Joy. And him and Joy getting together produced Ian. And Ian, rather than giving up, decided to help other people. And even helped, who is obviously my mother, and they're still married, in the trouble that she had when she was young. And as a result, I was born. Hooray! And here's the thing, I'm having to do things now because I think generationally. And some of you here today may have to make some big decisions. But don't just think about you, think about the generation following. One of the biggest things we did at the onset of COVID and beyond is we took all our children out of school. Because we didn't feel it was serving them. So we now homeschool our children. But you know why? Because I know that I want to reset the course of generations. On one side, I've got mafioso, I've got murderers, I've got war heroes, I've got all kinds of things. But I want my family name to be known as something that's positive, that transcends generations. So for me, when I see crisis, crisis should be a catalyst, and I hope it is for you. Thank you so much. Can I show the book? And if you're interested to find out a little bit about more, how I lost my hair and all kinds of stuff, it tells a story in this book called The Crisis Catalyst. You can order it online, you can find it through our website, as in my brand marketing agency, and buy it direct off there. But thank you so much for listening, and I trust you had a good time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Amazingly structured story, family story and business story. I hope that all of us have been inspired by your story. Thank you so much. And finally, he signed my book after half year, so good day. Thank you. But anyway, before we are starting eating, or carrying on eating, drinking, canapes will come very soon. Again, I'm very happy to see you, David Stringer Lamar in blue tie. You missed the introduction. David is also our HBB honorary member, so feel free to talk to him. He's the IOD Special Advisor and the Master of Worship for Company of Glaziers and Painters of Glass. Thank you very much for joining us.
So carry on networking, ladies and gentlemen. The food will be served. Enjoy the beautiful views outside, and we look forward to speaking to you later on in the event. So thank you for our keynote speakers. Big round of applause again, guys. Thank you.